guys, my name is Miranda Cohen, and if you are new here, welcome. This is Miranda's Message Part 3, where I use my knowledge and wisdom to hopefully inspire you to be a better version of yourself.
Shawty's like a melody in my head that I can't keep on. Got me singing. Replay.
So the topic of discussion for this video is fitness, motivation, mindset, and a little bit of nutrition. First question is, I'm tired of quitting on myself. I love your mindset. How can I shift my thinking? First thing to shifting your mindset would be you have to choose to believe in yourself. And I know that it's easier said than done. And if you literally typed this question on ChatGPT, it would say, you need to love yourself. You need to start believing in yourself. But I genuinely mean you need to start believing in your potential. You need to start believing that you're not a loser. You need to start believing that you're not your past mistakes. You need to start believing that anything that has happened to you doesn't have to completely change who you are. We actually had a really great message in church today, and he talked a lot about not being our past. And a lot of us as adults use the excuse of, you don't know what it's like to be me, or, you don't know what it's like to, have the childhood that I experienced, or, you don't know what it's like to have your whole, family abandon you. You've never been in my shoes. When we shift our mindset from being a victim to believing that we are worthy, we're going to reap the rewards of this beautiful thing called life, because instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, we're going to focus on finding solutions. So the first step would be believing in yourself. The second step would be looking in the mirror and actually loving what you see. And I don't mean just looking in the mirror physically, I mean loving the person that you are. So if you're listening to this and you have some bad habits, like maybe you have addiction problems, maybe you are obsessed with the wrong things, maybe you're just attracted to money, and maybe you don't know how to make money, and you're just spinning your own wheels, continue bad behaviors with your relationship. I don't know what it is, but you need to start actually changing your behaviors, because when you can actually change your behaviors, you're going to feel more confident in yourself. You're going to feel, oh wow, like I am this person when I look in the mirror. Because a lot of times we look in the mirror and we don't even know what we're looking at. Like imagine that. We look in the mirror and we don't even know what we see. And sometimes we get so blinded by our stress and our problems and all the things that can go wrong in life, but we need to start thinking about what is going right. If you are listening to this, start holding yourself accountable, because we all know at the end of the day, we all know what our flaws are, especially if we are awakened to some extent with self-awareness. Like I could sit here and tell you, okay, one of my biggest flaws as a human being would be my time management. And lately I have been setting myself up for success because I have been placing this structure in my life that I've so badly needed, like my morning routine. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll start to see that every single day I am sharing with you guys my morning routine. That is the way that I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm utilizing that as a tool to hopefully inspire you to have a morning routine and to dedicate, some minutes to yourself in the morning to self-development and to, advance your mindset. My third thing would be to start reading self-development books. I'm reading 10X by Grant Cardone. It is a game changer. I really recommend you to read this book if you're wanting to basically advance every aspect of your life. And one of my favorite parts, or I would say concepts of the book that I'm just absolutely obsessed with, is he not only talks about how to, make more money and how to further your business mindset, but he always goes back to, as a whole, bettering your relationships, bettering your marriage, and he ties in all these different aspects of life into this book, and it's really great. So I really recommend that you read this book if you're wanting to actually make better changes in your life. Next question is, I'm very independent and I want to put myself out there and date. How do I balance dating and focusing on myself? Okay, this is an interesting question, because we are all at different journeys and phases in our life. And I think the first step, in my opinion, would be really asking yourself, are you ready to be in someone else's company? Are you ready to spend more energy allowing someone else to get to know you? Because if you think about it, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3, let's just go on a date. It's the energy that it takes to get ready for the date. It's being on the date, having conversation. I think a lot of times we put ourselves into scenarios because we think that we should be doing this thing, but sometimes we don't really want to do that thing. Sometimes we're not in the mindset of trying to further connections because maybe we don't have the time. Maybe we're so burnt out from our lives that taking more time to get to know someone just sounds like, honestly, a headache. And honestly, if you're listening to this and you relate to that, I don't blame you. Dating is a very beautiful thing, and it comes with its perks, and then it also comes with, you have to be willing to give another person time. And sometimes we just don't have that to give. And it's important to understand what season of life that you're in to make a better decision when it comes to dating. To answer the last part of this question, you have to be able to structure your time. That's the best advice that I can give, allowing yourself. I personally think that if you are dating someone and you are able to text them all day long, you are not ambitious enough. You are not focused enough on yourself and your goals. We should not be prioritizing, in my opinion, texting someone nonstop all day, because what would you talk about on a date? I feel like in this society nowadays with social media, it's like we think that we have to constantly stay, connected to someone. It's like, we've got the texting, right? And then we've got the phone calls, and then we've got FaceTime. FaceTime is like an online date, and then on top of that, you have to follow this person on Instagram, typically. And if they don't follow you, that's obviously a red flag, but I'm just saying. And then you're watching their stories. So it's like there's all these different forms of how to communicate with somebody, and it just never ends. So in my opinion, huge red flag. If someone is wanting to talk to you all day long, they have way too much time in their hands. I'm just saying, that's just personally my own opinion. You need to ask yourself what phase of life that you're in. You need to figure out how much time you want to dedicate to someone else and allowing them into your circle. And and you can't be super closed off when you're dating. What is the point of putting yourself out there to date if you're going to just be super guarded? There's literally no point to that. If you are someone that still needs to heal through certain things in your life, maybe prioritize going to therapy over dating, because if you're not ready to actually open up yourself and talk about things that have happened to you in a very calm manner, you're not ready to put yourself out there, because how do you expect someone else to get to know you and to understand you if you're not even ready to make those first initial steps? After you go on obviously a couple dates, you need to be able to figure out if this person could blend potentially with your lifestyle, or if it's not, if it's not a good fit, because you can't balance, your success, financially and with your business or with your job or with your career, and then also try to date someone that is just totally not in line with anything that you're doing. So for example, I'll use this, I one time was in a situation where I was, really focused on my business and my career, and then I was trying to talk to someone that really loved going out on the weekends. Had to be, in the scene, had to be, in the mix of, I guess, fun chaos, what have you. And there was a constant clash because for me, I'm a homebody. I can sit down on the couch and watch, a great Netflix show. By the way, if you haven't watched Ginny and Georgia yet, you need to watch it. It's so good. And anyways, I don't need to be doing all these different things because my lifestyle is super exhausting. Especially right now, I'm dieting. I've been dieting for about a month now, and I'm doing cardio. I'm doing all these workouts. I'm doing content every single day. I'm focusing on growing my own business and my personal brand, and I don't really want a lot of outside noise. So for me, I'm content with doing nothing because my soul and my physical body need to do nothing. Now, for someone that goes to a 9-to-5 every day, maybe they occasionally go to the gym. In this case, this person occasionally went to the gym, and on the weekends, it's just like, let's get effed up, so it's like, let's have fun, let's go out. I need to drink with my boys, and I'm just like, wait, what? Why? Maybe you should read a book or something. Maybe you should, I don't know, do something else with your time. Maybe you should work on being a better person, because if you have so much time to drink alcohol and to be around all that kind of stuff, to me, you don't have big enough goals. So I don't know, I hope that answers your question. Okay, my next question will be favorite protein snacks, food mixes, sauce alternatives while avoiding high calories, hacks and tips. Okay, my first recommendation would be reduced sugar ketchup. If you do not have this as a staple in your refrigerator, I have no idea what you're doing Ketchup is great when you're dieting. You just kind of put it on everything and then just hope that it tastes good. So that would be my first thing. A really great protein or a high protein hack for a snack, and I learned this from someone else, so this is not my idea, but I watched someone else do it and I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. It's Greek yogurt, and then you actually mix protein powder into that. So it kind of turns out to be this yogurt kind of pudding experience. And then on top of that, you could add in, some granola, you could add in peanut butter. I do this thing where I actually will heat up sometimes peanut butter in the microwave, so that's super gooey. You have to get the creamy one, crunchy will not work. But if you do creamy, and then you can kind of like drizzle it or just put it on top of, the yogurt parfait situation, and it's super good. It makes the protein pudding tastes really good. You could put oats on top of that. You could do fruit. You could do maybe even some whipped cream. Like, that's a really good thing, because if you do at least 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt, I believe that's about 17 grams of protein, if I'm correct. And then on top of that, if you do a protein scoop, that's roughly between 20 to 25 grams of protein. So 20 plus 17 is, what is that actually? 37 grams of protein. It's been a long day. I actually need to eat my next meal. So yeah, it'd be 37 grams of protein. Plus, if you add toppings, you're doing great. Another really great high protein meal would be, I haven't done this in a while, but a smoothie. You could do almond milk, you can do a protein scoop, you can also add in Greek yogurt to that as well. You can do oats, fruit, blend it all together. That's also a great meal to take with you on the go. A lot of people struggle with having meals readily available, especially, while being in a hurry or having a busy work week. And smoothies are always a great option, because you can just bring them to and from. And if you have a refrigerator at your job, you can just stick it in there, and at least that you're getting a meal's worth of calories. Reduced sugar barbecue sauce is a great sauce to have. It's not going to taste, obviously, like our normal barbecue sauce, but if you think about it like this, regular barbecue sauce could range from anywhere between 10 carbs to like almost 30 for a serving, and sometimes a serving is either a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. So if you change to a no sugar added option, you're gonna not get the same amount of calories that you'd get from the regular barbecue sauce, or even ketchup, for example. Regular ketchup, I'm not sure the exact carb intake, but no sugar is gonna have a lower carb intake than the regular. I stick to really basic stuff when I season my food.
Sauce on rice is good.
Huh?
Soy sauce.
Okay, yeah. I really like to put, I've been doing this actually lately with my ground beef, but adding soy sauce as a way to kind of keep the meats really flavorful. I've been doing that. Some people, when they make ground beef, will do soy sauce with some honey. I just can't afford the extra calories right now, so I'm not going to do that, but that is really good as well. I stick to very basic, I would say, ingredients when I cook. I do garlic powder. I'll usually do, like a blend of garlic, pepper, and salt. Kinder's is a really good brand for that. I'll sometimes use chives. I'll use basil, some onion powder. I would say those are like my basics. And my last question is, what do you find helps to reassure yourself that you're on the right path, even when the people around that you're close to are naysayers? So I relate to this question more than anyone can understand. When I first started my social media journey, I felt like the world was against me. I felt, honestly, I was against myself, because I was always in this mixture between believing in myself and then fearing everything that could go wrong. When I look back, I tried to just plow through all of the doubt and all of the fear that either I had in my mind or that people, would communicate to me. And you have to understand that if you're around people that are not ambitious, if you're around people that are just content with their job, even though they hate it, you're never going to get this massive support from these types of people, because they don't understand what it's like to take risks. They don't know what it's like to put your have your back against the wall and basically give everything you have to this decision that you make. A lot of people live very comfortably because they don't take risks in their decisions. They just basically are content, but they're not content. They're content with the choices that they make, or they make it appear that they're content, but a lot of people that are content are broke. A lot of people that are content are miserable at their jobs. A lot of people that are content go to work and they hate who works there. You have to understand that if you're wanting support and respect from people that are absolutely miserable. And this is aside from just, job focus. If you are around people that are miserable inside, that constantly speak negativity, that constantly make your life a problem, that constantly tell you what you should be doing with your life, you will never have support from these types of people. You need to surround yourself with people that are lifting you up, that are saying, yes, I know, your life is hard. I know that you're making a lot of tough decisions, but you're on the right path. If you're only hearing, you're not doing the right thing, you're this and you're that, you're going to continue to just make very comfortable decisions. I encourage you to make a tougher decision, because you're only going to figure out who you are supposed to be in this life, making hard choices, and then maybe sometimes failing from those hard choices. We're never guaranteed anything in this life, but if you can actually commit to yourself and listen to your intuition and listen to, the inner voice that you have in your mind, and you just forget about everything else, I promise you will be way more satisfied in life doing the hard thing and at least trying to do something hard, rather than just living a very content life, because content does not satisfy our need to have a better life. Believing in yourself starts with loving yourself from the inside out, and that is the only way that you're actually going to figure out what your life purpose is in this world. So I'm going to end on that note. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Right, Daisy? Right, Daisy? I love you. Yeah.